right, we want to say welcome to everybody who's joining us this evening. This is the December meeting for the Fort Worth Astronomical Society. It is unusual for us to have an actual meeting in December. I've been a member since 2012, and this is the only time we've done this because we were not able to have our annual Christmas party. So anyway, thank you for joining us this evening. I do want to say thank you to all the new members who've joined, and let's all welcome them. We have Marcus Thomerson, Matthew Burns, the family of Andrew Slayton, the family of Neil Champakara, the family of John Baker, and the family of Brooke Axline Minotti. In addition to the new members, I want to recognize all of the board members. I think most of them are signed on tonight. I am your president running the meeting. Ed Gill is our vice president. He's signed on. John Geromini. I haven't seen him. There he is. John is on. Our board members, our general board members are Tom Roth, Cy Simonson, Jerry Gardner, and Larry Barker. We still have an open position for secretary. Obviously, the main purpose of the secretary is to take minutes at the meetings, the general meetings and the board meetings. They are also in charge of maintaining a list of club equipment. And one thing to remember is that some duties can be delegated to others. So you don't have to do it all yourself. Get some help. What you do need if you want to volunteer is you do have to be a member for at least 1 year. That's one of the requirements in our bylaws. A little bit of club history for those of you who are new to the club. The Fort Worth Astronomical Society is one of the first adult astronomy clubs formed in the country. It was founded by Charlie Mary Noble 71 years ago in 1949, and it grew out of a junior astronomy club when so many parents became interested when they were bringing their children. They expressed an interest, and so the club was formed for adults. We currently have about 154 members and their families. We invite everyone to participate in the club. Our club members bring a wide range of experience, from beginners to the professional astronomers. And one of the things I've always considered a strength of our club is the varied interests we all have, from binocular viewing to astrophotography and everything in between. We have many members who are willing to help with any questions you may have, and we also encourage outreach whenever possible. And due to the current societal situation, obviously, we are still not conducting in-person star parties. I know Chris has been conducting several virtual star parties, and I think he said he's going to try to do something this weekend if the weather holds. It's not looking promising right now. He will always accept help if you'd like to co-host with him or learn how to host one on your own. And something to always remember about our club: we are a nonprofit organization, so feel free to make donations because those donations can be claimed on your yearly tax filing. And let's see. Next up. Let me turn the page, sorry. Dark sky sites. We currently have access to 2 dark sky sites. New members should never go to either of the sites without first teaming up to visit the site with a seasoned club member. And our new members have been wonderful about that. We thank you so much, and we thank you to the seasoned members for getting back with them and teaching them the ropes on the 2 different sites. One site is in Decatur. It's the Thompson Foundation. You have electricity available, restroom is available, and check the files on the e-group to get the gate code. Those changed a couple of months ago. We also have a second site, Star Ranch in Ranger, Texas. Electricity is provided via solar panels. There is a toilet available. It's a composting toilet, and it's been working great since we got it up and running a couple of years ago. Water is not available, so if you smoke, please be very careful about not leaving anything smoldering anywhere. Just make sure everything's taken care of. We do have a new lock that was put on there a couple of months ago off the road going into the easement. So you'll want to check again the e-group to get the current code on that. The last time we were out there, the entry had been repaired, so I don't think there should be any problems getting in. And the work party we had last month and a half ago, we were able to get a lot of work done, clearing grass, mowing. So I think everybody, whether you're driving a car or an SUV, should be able to get through there. Probably don't want to take your Lamborghini out there, but you know, your normal everyday cars would work. We do ask that everyone remember there are other people on site. And so if you get a little bit mad at your telescope or the weather, watch what you're saying, because not everybody wants to hear some of the language we really want to profess. And I think everybody who's been on the e-group has been seeing all of the talk about the conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, and that's set to occur on December 21st. That also, I hadn't thought about it, is also the winter solstice. What I picked up off the internet is that evening they'll be the closest they've been in nearly 400 years. And so it's like 1/10 of a degree apart from each other. They also say early evening is the best time to view that, between 45 to 90 minutes after sunset, so you don't miss it. So make sure you put that on your calendar. And then we're going to turn it over to Ed. I think you should be able to unmute yourself. He's going to introduce our speaker.
All right. Well, I'm going to introduce myself.
Hi, Ed.
As most of us know that are older club members, November and December, we generally don't have speakers and presentations. So this year, I've had to resort to the local advertising type of presentation, self-made, and I have to apologize for today's presentation. Had a little issue with exposure on the camera, so the exposure flickers a little bit, but hopefully we'll bear with it. It's a presentation on tripod alternatives, and it's another equipment discussion. It's not, I don't think it runs 45 minutes, so it's not going to be the full length presentation, but it hopefully will be somewhat entertaining. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and run the video, and let's see if this works. Host disabled, participant sheets. Okay, so I need to be able to share my screen to run the video.
Just a minute, looking at it.
Not a problem. You're not missing a lot, folks. So, yeah, and it's a spot filler. We'll try to get more professional by January, and hopefully we'll have some other contributors.
Try it now. That was the one I forgot to click beforehand.
There we go.
Okay. By the time we get it figured out, we should be back to normal and meeting in person.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop that. Did you all hear it?
I didn't hear it.
Okay, I've run into this problem before, and I want to make sure I can share the audio. Screen sharing, and there should be an audio sharing also. And where is it? I got some things in front of my, All right, well,
Try it again, see.
Yeah, did the sound come through?
No, I didn't hear it.
No, I'm not hearing it either.
Right. Well, like I said, it's amateur hour. And oh no, what did I do? And share sound. There it is.
Yay!
And I'm going to try to do this in one take.
Okay, did you all hear it?
Oh, I think so.
In and outs and stops and fade ins and all that fancy stuff, because
Does that work?
It's not very loud.
Okay, well, I've got the volume turned up as loud as I can, so
Okay.
you can turn up your volume at your end, and we'll see if we can this will work.
We'll go for it.
Tuesday afternoon, and tonight's the meeting. So what I'm going to talk about is alternatives to the tripods that you normally get with a telescope mount. First of all, I'm going to roll these around a little bit, and this is a typical metal tripod that goes with a iOptron mount. It's and you can't see that very well, so I'm going to pan that down a little bit. And this is what you typically see: metal legs, a spreader tray, and a connection. Now, I like to have the little pier extension on my tripod, so I have a pier extension for this, and I have a pier extension for my Los Mendy mounts. There's only one problem with these, and that is generally the locks are down here. Now, if you've reached the age of grace, wisdom, and inflexibility like I have, adjusting a tripod down here, you're down and you got to get down here and loosen the tripod mount and move it up and down. And while you're doing that, you can't see the bubble level that's up on the tripod, or excuse me, that's up on the mount. So that creates a problem. You level it, or you think you do, you move the leg, and then you've got to check the bubble up here, and then you move the leg some more, and then check the bubble, and then you move it some more, and you check the bubble. And by the time you're done, you're ready to go have coffee, head into the warm house, and call it a night. Now, there's a whole bunch of discussion on the web about, do you really need to level your tripod? Well, for equatorial mounts, and I'm going to pan this back up here so I don't have to bend over so much. For equatorial mounts, like this one over here, you don't have to level the tripod. Now, I'll get to that in a minute, because you want to, but you don't have to. But for an alt-az mount like this, it's very important to level the tripod, because if you do go-tos or even slewing to objects, if your mount's not level, you're not going to be rotating in a flat plane perpendicular to the earth and elevating at right angles, because the tripod is out of level. So for an alt-az mount, you need to level your tripod, and if these Chinese basically metal mounts, all the locks are down at the bottom. You can't look at the bubble while you're unlocking and locking the leg, and it's a real pain in the derriere. And so that's I got thinking about that, and having been an engineer and a surveyor in a former life, I said, hey, I know there are better tripods than this around, and so I'm going to show you what I went through and did to come up with what I think is a better solution for a field tripod. We're not talking about set piers here that are in an observatory or piers in general. That's a whole different category. not going there. We're just talking about tripods. So what I did, I got this out of the way. I got online, and this is a surveyor's tripod. And I'm going to put together, or talk about, as I put it together, a couple of aspects that were important to me. Number one, this particular tripod, and I'll move it back a little bit so you can see it here, has two locks. It has a quick lock up here, and still can't see it, so I'm going to pan down a little bit. And it has a second lock down here. Now, you say, well, heck, you're bending over again. Well, the advantage is that when you are setting up the tripod, you can loosen these down at the bottom, and then you can use this lock up here to move the tripod up and down to balance it. Lock it in, and you can balance it, or level it, I should say, while you're watching the level on the top of the tripod. So once you get it level, you just lock in the leg. It stays where it stays put, and then you can go around, once everything is done, then lock the second lock. A couple of aspects of this one. First, the double lock. In my mind, it makes it a more secure tripod, rather than having one lock that you might or might not have fully tight. So you have a lock here, and then you have a lock there. To me, it makes a lot more sense. The counter to that is the standard tripod that comes for this particular Los Mandy, and it has locks the top and bottom, but this thing is a beast. I mean, this is really a heavy duty tripod that if you're going to set up in the field for a week, maybe it's worthwhile, or if you're going to set up on a concrete pad, is worthwhile, or if you're going to set up in an observatory, it's worthwhile having, because it'll carry a lot of load. It's very stable, and it's a nice tripod. We're going to talk about costs too. So, how do I get to using a tripod that's designed for survey equipment with telescope equipment? Well, all of the survey equipment has a screw very similar to what you see on your other tripods. It comes up through the bottom, and it locks the survey instrument on the top. Well, like I was pointing out earlier on, I like these little short extensions, and what I did, and you can see it here, is put in this case, a 1/2-inch bolt through with a lock nut on the bottom, and so this stays fixed. I'm going to show you, and you can't really see it very well through the camera, so I'm going to pick this up and bring it over so you can see it a little bit better. Is that inside the head there is a catch, and it's basically just a loop of metal here. You can see me moving it around. The bolt will go down through that, and then I just use a wing nut and a fender washer to lock it in. Now, while I'm showing you that, there are a couple of different versions of tripods meant for surveying equipment. This is a round head version, which is what I was looking for. It's 6 5/8 inch in diameter. There is a second version that is triangular. They basically clip the sides and make it a triangular head. That should work also, but I wanted to make sure that I had extra room for the for the pier extension to go on the top. It also doesn't come with this. I put this basically wall material on the top with a little bit of spray glue to protect the aluminum, because working aluminum to aluminum, it was getting scratched. And I also found that the two smooth face aluminums didn't lock together as well as I like to. They did lock together if you put enough torque on the nut, but this works better, and it saves the metal face of the equipment. So put the wing nut on there. This is a 6-inch diameter pier extension, and make sure that's engaged, and I can lock it down reasonably hand tight, and I can move the tripod around without this rotating on me. So this is very secure. Then I can take the tripod, or excuse me, the head off for the equatorial mount, and with a little bit of help, there we go, it just mounts on, and then of course I have to lock in the screws here to hold it. There's another big advantage of this whole rig this way, other than being able to level. The Los Mandy mounts have 2 bubble levels in the tripod, in the head, makes it very easy to level a tripod. The other thing is, I invariably, because grace and inflexibility, I'm not sure about the wisdom, I often put the tripod head down on, and I may have the adjustment screw racked to one side, and I've got everything set up, and I realize that I can't get enough range on the azimuth adjustment to get Polaris or get the RA axis sighted in on the North Pole, or the North Celestial Pole. So the nice thing about this rig is it's not locked into any stud that some of these others have. They have a stud that they use to work against. I can rotate this head any way I want. If one of the legs is in my way for where I'm visually observing, or the stuff is not lining up the way I want it, I can rotate this head 360 degrees on this tripod, lock it in where I'm happy, and things are out of the way, and I've got room to move around it and make those adjustments without tearing everything back down and moving the tripod and re-leveling it. It's a piece of cake. Once it's leveled, just loosen the nut, rotate till I get aligned to the north axis, or north celestial pole, and tighten it up, and I'm done. So leveling here and being able to watch the bubbles while you level, and being able to rotate the head freely, really is a lot of good aspects of using a Surveyor tripod. The other aspect, and I'm going to probably move around a little bit here with the camera, is these tripods are intended to be used in the field. They're waterproof. These are fiberglass wood. They have, and I'll show you here. I'm going to try to get this off without making everybody seasick. But if you can see down here, these have a robust field step-in spike. The spike is pretty vigorous here, and you can use your full weight to jam this into the ground. It gets a very secure footing, as opposed to what these little spikes that come with these mounts, and there's no place to put your foot to push it in the ground. And I have invariably set up and put the telescope on the tripod with the added weight, and or put the mount on the tripod with all the added weight, and it'll sink into the ground, and the next thing you know, I got to set up again. So again, sorry about the little bit of seasickness there, but I wanted to show you that these tripods, these survey tripods, are intended to be used in the field. They're very secure when you push them into the dirt. They don't need the spreader, and I'll talk about that in a minute, because they are very dug in. Now on concrete, a little different story. And you can see here, and I'll pan down again, that I have made my own spreader. They don't come with a spreader. That's one of the problems, one of the disadvantages. I made my own with the 2-inch and 1.25-inch eyepiece holders, and I made it adjustable so that I can move it up and down, level it out, and gives me some adjustment of the leg spread, although the leg spread is pretty much set, and it's that way to get you the maximum load capacity. You don't want to be spreading out too far, because then you're bending the legs with the load from the telescope and the mount. And making my own, I added watch me drop it here in front of everybody. I added a holder for my handset for the mount, but I find these work really well. Now I'm going to go through the advantages, just some of the disadvantages. You can see here in comparison to the Los Monthy mount, the stock mount that comes, your tripod is set quite a bit higher. I don't find that to be a disadvantage because I'm relatively tall, but if you're shorter, you can get shorter tripods. This is a standard height survey tripod. I forget what the height is. It's somewhere around 40 inches at the base here. This one's more like 32 inches, something like that at the top. And this one is very similar here to the Ioptron. You can see again, this is the base level here, at the top of the tripod here. You got a top of the tripod here, top of the tripod down here. Top of the tripod down here. So I also can do this, what I did with the Los Monthy extension, I can do with the Ioptron extension. It takes a 12mm bolt. I have a 12mm instead of the 1/2 inch. It's metric, of course, and the wing nut. And so I can take this whole unit off here and mount it up here just like I did this one. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I could do it, but it would take time to take everything apart and put the bolt in. So that helps a lot. And it makes it somewhat universal. You gotta get one of these peer extensions if they're available for your equatorial mount, or if you happen to be lucky and have a mount that has a standard hole, 1/2 inch or so in the bottom that you can put a bolt through, you can do this adaptation. Let's talk about cost. The disadvantage, like I was pointing out, is this is pretty high. The cost. This bad boy here is about $800. These are pretty, I mean, you get what you pay for, but they are very expensive. The piers, Ioptron puts out a pier with the outrigger legs. All the heavy duty mounts, they're all running $5,000, $800, $1,000. You get Paramount's software bisque mount. I think they're like $1,500. They're expensive. The Ioptron tripods come with the mount, but if you buy them separately, they're still in the $300 range. Normally, for the heavy duty ones, you might get $250 for the light duty, but the light duty isn't going to match the stability you get out of this survey. The survey, bought online and delivered to my house, was $125. Now, I did have to make the spreader tray. To have it, I don't have to make it because, again, the mount is very secure on dirt. When you when you push it in, it won't spread out on you. It will, and it'll hold up on concrete. The tips will have enough friction that it's not going to slide open on you on concrete. But if you try to move it around, the legs will wobble in and out. So I did make this spreader tray primarily for working on concrete and being able to move the tripod around. You notice that my tripods are on rollers here, and I can roll this back and roll this one back. Without the spreader tray and the locking of the legs in their orientation, if you put it on rollers, the legs will just go right out from underneath you. So that's definitely not fun. The rollers I find real convenient for moving in and out under my porch on the concrete. And clouds roll in, it's going to rain. I just put a cover on, roll it back under my porch, good to go. So that's what I wanted to talk about as an alternative, and these are, because they're mass produced, there's a lot of surveyors out there using these tripods, and of course anything that's mass produced, as we know, is going to be more or less expensive per unit than the custom made stuff, even if it's of equal quality. Surveying equipment is more rugged. It's designed to be in the field. It's designed to be used by people that are going to be throwing it in the back of a truck, dragging it around out in the woods or out in the fields, and they're pretty rugged. They'll stand up to the weather, whereas the metal tripods, I'm not really sure how. They're probably all right, but rusting and stuff like that, I'm not sure about all the quality of the materials. The hard anodized aluminum tripods like this one that you pay a fortune for, yeah, they're going to hold up, but I can buy 6 of these for one of those, and so that's my spiel. Like I say, the double locks, the round head, and of course I'm online, with the group IO. So if you have any questions about, this is a Site Pro WDF20-DCB. I can give you links to Amazon or wherever to order these if you want to get a tripod like this, and kind of walk you through the process of doing it. So there you go. That's an alternative to the tripod that comes with your equipment if you want to upgrade or have something a little bit more suitable for working in the field and easier to level. Speaking of leveling, I was going to get to that point. Again, there's a lot of talk about you don't need to level an equatorial mount, and which is true. Once the axis is pointed to the North Electoral Pole, not a problem. It rotates around the pole. It doesn't have any bearing on whether the tripod underneath is level. But to get it pointed to the pole, you are essentially using your azimuth and altitude adjustments, which or an alt as mount. So if they are not, if your base is not level, your adjustments are not truly just azimuth and altitude. It's going to, if it's out of level, it's going to be a little bit of both. So if you're using SharpCap Pro or using one of the other programs that does a little bit of plate solving, you rotate 90 degrees, rotate it back. That'll work fine because it's using a photograph to plate solve. But when it tells you move 2 degrees east and go up 30 minutes, and you start doing your adjustments, well, all of a sudden you've gone 2 degrees east, but now you've gone up, just doing that adjustment has changed your altitude, and now your adjustment's all off. It's just kind of a pain. And using an optical, using the optical polar scope, it's even more important to have your base level, because your reticule will be aligned vertically. Most of them, like my iOptron, when it's in equatorial mode, has a bubble level to align your reticule vertically, so that when you make your adjustments, you're moving vertically or moving horizontally. You need to level your base to do those adjustments. So there is a reason to level your base when you're doing equatorial, using an equatorial mount, primarily to get your adjustments all working in one axis at a time rather than both axes. And of course, if you're really out of level, your center of mass and is not over the center of the tripod. It's going to be over one leg or the other. You're going to be a little unbalanced. Most people don't get it that on level, but you theoretically could if you're on soft ground or working on a hillside or something, and you could tip your, you could put a lot of weight up high. If you're a little bit off center, that might throw you off and cause you to lose your rig. So that's my spiel on tripods. Hope you enjoyed it. And once again, if you liked it, you can call 1-800-THANKS-ED. And I doubt if anybody will answer the phone anyway. So appreciate it. And you'll have happy holidays and the best to you and their family, and good health. Wear your mask. The vaccine's not out everywhere yet, so wear your mask and social distance. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's always painful watching yourself, but I'm still always looking for folks to provide presentations. If you've got some stuff going on that you'd like to share, please send me a message or put it on Groups.io. What I'd like to do is get a pinned request for presentations on Groups.io. See if we can get that done in the next month or so. But I will be, promise, Scouts Honor, I'm going to be working on professional quality presentations for the coming year, and see what we can come up with. So thanks. I apologize again for the exposure. I had a one take, had time to only do one take, so that was it. No cue cards, no prompting. So.
You did a great job, Ed. We thank you so much for that. I learned a lot.
Okay, well, good. Well, I'm glad it was helpful.
Does anybody out there have any questions they want to ask real quick?
Well,
all right.
Either it was uninteresting or I told them everything they needed to know.
You went through quite a bit. I thought I enjoyed the knowing why, and I don't use an equatorial mount, but it was nice to know why you would want to get it level if you're using one of those mounts. because that is,
there's a lot of discussion on, you don't really need to level an equatorial mount, and that's kind of true, but there are downsides to not leveling it. So
yeah, good.
All right.
And of course, anybody who has any questions, you can always email through the group, and Ed will pick it up and help you out. Okay, let's move on to the e-group email, or the business meeting. And I guess the first point of contact is going to be the e-group email list. I just wanted to review this once more because we have so many families that join our club. We really, because of the logistics of trying to keep everybody clean, as in, not letting outsiders into the e-group who aren't supposed to be there, we still need to maintain one address per membership. So if it's a family membership, one of the best suggestions I've heard from someone is for a family to establish a Gmail account and or some other general account so that it can be accessed by all members of the family at any point in time. And, that'll work whether you've got 2 people using it or 5 people. So that is one of the better suggestions for those of you who are family members who want to be involved in the e-group. Again, I think I want to reiterate to the new members that we have, thank you so much because you've listened and that you're reaching out to meet up with people who are coming to the dark sky sites. And we appreciate your respect for our rule on that. If there's, for some reason, you reach out and you just can't get someone to meet up with you, let me know, or go on the e-group and hold up a hand and say, help, help. Sometimes people just don't check their email that often. They may put an email out there that says, I'm going out there this evening, and then they don't check their email again before they actually get out there. So sometimes that's why, they may miss if someone's trying to reach out to them. So if you know ahead of time, if you know early in the week, you could put out there, if someone's going out to Thompson or someone's going out to Star this weekend, I'd like to hook up with you and get the information out there earlier. And then again, likewise, to those of you who do post that you're going out to one of the dark sites, if it's possible for you to check your email somewhere along the line before you get to a good meeting point, check before you leave the house to see if there is a new member who's put word out there that they'd like to meet up and get out with you. Next, we're going to head up to John. We're ready for your treasurer's report. You ready? You have to unmute yourself first.
There it is, right there.
There you go. I know.
I have to find the right button to push. Ed, you were talking about something like a pinned post? The Groups.io has a thing called Sticky. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
Sticky, so it stays up, it stays up at the top of the list so that people can respond to and say, yeah, I got a presentation I'd like to talk about, the latest computer software or whatever.
Right. So I don't know who have access to do that. It looks to me when I looked at it that anybody could, but I doubt that would be the case. But there is a feature called Sticky.
I'll give it a try.
Yeah. Okay, let me go back over here. I need to probably acquire the screen and share this.
I put it to where participants could share their screen, so you should be.
Okie dokie. Well, then let me do that. And you see that now?
Yep, got it.
Okay. So there's money. We are up to 154 members, which is the highest we've been in 12 months, and I don't know when the last time we were that high before. So that's quite impressive. I really have been amazed. I was really hoping we could have passed I'm going to scroll on down here to look at the statistics since August 1st when we started doing online. We've had 49 people send a request in to join. Of those 49, 42 actually did. But it would have been nice to have had a 50th one come in. But not
Maybe
so far.
before the end of the year.
I know we have a couple of weeks to go, but I don't know. You can tell the number was really heavy in August, and it's let up quite a bit since that point in time. I'm not sure. There was probably a pent up demand when we did it in August.
Yeah.
And one of the things that keeps amazing me is it's the vast majority of people that join are families, by a long shot, like a 2/3. And I think I saw Phil was on. There he is. Phil, I had sent you the last envelope was for Brooke Axline Minotti. So there's 5, I think there's 5 badges in that one group.
Well, there's 4.
I think there's 5.
Well, she
Okay.
had her name on both the
Oh,
initial
that's right.
and also in the
You're
list.
absolutely right. Yeah.
They go out tomorrow.
Well, there's Brooke, Dennis, Sierra, Sydney, and Bryce. That's 5, isn't it?
Yeah, I missed one. Okay, I'll make up the other one tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys need to appreciate Phil's efforts. All the badges, since we don't have in person, are being done. I write a card and an envelope. I send that to Phil, and Phil actually creates the badges. And we communicate via this spreadsheet here that shows us who the people are and what the family members are. So Phil has been cranking out badges, quite a few badges, since sometime in June or July. I guess pretty close to that. Well, maybe it was August when we started to do all the onlines. Anyway, thank you for that, Phil. So this is our curve over the last 12 months. Invariably, we have this trough here during renewal time, but looks really nice now. It's over the 150 mark. So, and other than that, I really don't have a bunch of additional things to do. I did look. For whatever reason, and maybe this is something Sean did recently, but in the directory where the forms are located, there was a form on there for the e-group accepted use signature. But I didn't know about that. It wasn't in the previous manual. But irregardless to all that, what I primarily am working on is trying to make that data that's being acquired is to make that validatable. Validatable?
Validated.
Yeah, well, I want to validate it, but right now you can't validate it because the people enter names. They don't enter the names the same way they are in the Night Sky Network, and so it becomes very difficult to do validation.
Yeah.
And there is a way to, when you're using a form in this nature, you're actually storing the data in a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet is like any other spreadsheet, and you can actually plug in a quote data set, which in this case would be member IDs, and actually validate them when they're first entering into the form. But there, in order to make this process much more streamlined, we need to do something like that. That's why I'm looking at doing it that way.
Okay.
And that's all I have, unless somebody has any questions.
Hey, John,
Yes.
is that 2 words for those new members on all their names, or is it just on
Just
the
on
wife?
Brooke. It's just on Brooke.
Okay, very good.
The last.
I got it right.
Yeah, the last name. I think I sent you a reply to that.
Yeah, but I wasn't real sure. So anyway, I got it right.
Okay. Okay. And Michelle, did you have a voicemail from me from a couple of weeks ago?
I did go back and listen to that. I'll have to get back with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That same topic was why I contacted Cy also, but it's not something to discuss right now.
Okay. Very good. I'll be in touch with you either tomorrow afternoon or Thursday morning.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Hey, John.
It's not a catastrophic thing, although at the time I thought it was. Yes, sir.
Did you find the programs for the backgrounds on the selenium?
Yes. They're
Okay, very good, because I found mine, and
Yeah,
I've got both the Thompson and the Star Ranch.
yes, they are out here. Well, they're here. If I could get to it, there we go. It's out. It's out here under a separate place that says Stellarium Backgrounds, actually. And the reason this is problematic is because my gallery is not quite in a nice place. Let's see. But yes, it's here we go. Landscapes right here.
Yep, that's one.
And there they are. I think they've even got one from the the Fort Worth Museum of Science and Natural History.
Yep, yeah. I've got that one also.
Yeah, and we had the one for the clubhouse when we do the young astronomers there too.
So, correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okie dokie.
Okay.
Take it away.
All right. Next, am I going to appear? There we go. Next up, we're going to talk about outreach. I know we keep talking about it, and eventually we will actually be able to do it in a little bit more in-person format because, again, they're still on hold. Probably will be through minimum March. But the Tandy Hill schedule for 2021 has been determined, as we discussed at the last meeting, and we did start that schedule in March. Obviously, we have no idea what the climate this is going to be like at that point in time, so we'll play it by ear, and if we have to cancel, we will cancel. But I went back, and Pam did send that schedule out to the group in November. So if you didn't see it, look for it. And if you don't find it, we'll get it back out to you. But again, we will see what happens as that comes back up. When we do begin in-person star parties, we would like to see if one or more of our great astrophotographers working off of a computer could set up so that, several people could view through a telescope without actually looking through an eyepiece. Give it a little bit safer interaction there so that we can keep some distance between everybody. And when we do start back up, again, we'll still have to be cautious at that point in time. So we will, probably end up in an area where maybe we have stanchions, have it roped off somehow so that we can control the number of people coming into the area at any one time. And we'll, have some volunteers, I'll be one of them, who are helping monitor that and can just sort of help guide people and just remind them, to keep their distance. So it will be interesting as we do get back into meeting people face to face that way. If you have any other ideas on safe sharing, then put those out there so that we can consider those as we go into that portion and that we're looking forward to eventually. One of the suggestions I think that came from a Tandy Hills person was possibly having someone who can share about the constellations and the planets and everything you can see in the sky. Again, Chris is doing the virtual star parties. Would love some help when you're available for a co-host, or he can show you how to do it on your own, and you can have one on your own. One thing to remember is that the virtual star parties should be recorded on the Night Sky Network, because we do receive credit for those star parties. They're going with the times the way we've had them, and so they do allow credit for the virtual star parties that people have been having. Ed and Mark Smith, next on our agenda is the land search. Do y'all have anything you want to share at this point in time? Or George, I think you're involved in that also.
I'll go ahead and start off. I had a conversation with Chris Swenson, who is the owner of the ranch up by Throckmorton, and where the SOFAR Observatory is located. They are interested in leasing land adjacent to the observatory. We're supposed to get back together. I don't know if we'll get back together before Christmas, because I'm heading out to Fort Griffin Friday. But between now and the January board meeting, I hope to talk to him. I would like to talk to the board also about making a counter offer to leasing, where we enter into a purchase agreement, but then there's an agreement only to sell the land back to the owners of the ranch. Because I can understand their concern. They don't want to have a 30,000 acre ranch and a 1 acre spot in the middle of it owned by somebody else. But there's conversations that we can enter into. I believe there's a big advantage in owning only as much land as we really need, rather than buying 10 acres and then we got to maintain it, and we don't really need 10 acres. And also having the utilities developed and a common purpose right next to each other. Buying it adjacent to an existing observatory. So we have our observatory, their observatory. They share the utilities. We share the access, and also we don't get the potential encroachment if somebody decides to buy the 10 acres next to us and build an amusement park. You can't control that kind of stuff. So I think there's some real potential there. Chris was very open and enthusiastic, and I think and I do need, but obviously I don't have the authority to make offers and agreements and all that type of stuff. We need to discuss this in detail at the board meeting in January. Okay. Hopefully I will talk to him in the meantime, and that's more his availability than mine, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, great.
So I'll try to put together a report for January.
How far of a drive is it out to there from like Fort Worth?
Well, I have an idea where it is. We can't just drive out and see it because it's well into their property and it's behind a locked gate.
Yeah.
which has a good thing. You know, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's up by between Throckmorton and goodness, I'm trying to remember the name of the town that's just north of Throckmorton.
Seymour?
Seymour. Thank you. About halfway in between Throckmorton and Seymour.
Okay.
So the downside is it's a good distance. It's probably a little farther than Star. The good news is though it's good, you know, good roads pretty much all the way. But I believe they have it up on a mesa, up on a clear area.
Oh.
He described it as having a 360-degree horizon, and being as those areas are all large ranches, and they're not being split up for development and that type of stuff, it's really unlikely we're going to get light encroachment into our area. You know, if we buy into it. I mean, he was all into a 10-year lease. That was no big deal to him. But I think the club wants some more long-term assurance, especially if we build any facilities and move anything up there. So it's something we need to talk in detail about.
Okay. Ought to be an interesting meeting in January then.
Yeah, Mark, did you have any comments or thoughts on it? I know you've been deeply involved in it.
Well, Ed, I don't know about how deeply involved, but I like the approach of going up there. And one thing about it, if you consider being able to lease something and only an acre as opposed to purchasing, $35,000 worth of property, the difference could pay for a bunch of pads, et cetera, that, okay, we leave them behind, but we didn't have to pay for it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of the other things, and I know Mike and some of the other folks that have worked on the 19-inch telescope, there's my conversations with Arthur Sweeney over at U Dallas. There might be an opportunity to get a grant to upgrade that to a full remote control telescope, possibly, with allowing some time to a university or to students to use, sharing time on it. The club uses it, but students get, certain percentage of the time. We might be able to get a grant to the organizations that the universities work with to fully upgrade it to a modern, fully remote operated 19-inch telescope, which is pretty much research grade.
What would be the rough cost of upgrading that scope like that?
Oh, well, it depends on what you want to do with it, of course. I think Mike had mentioned, I'd calculated the weight up around the 200-pound level to put it on a ME2 Paramount mount, fully remote, probably in the 30 grand range. That's why I was hoping that if we get a grant, then you got to put cameras and computers and all the other accoutrements that it's like our hobby. You buy a $1,500 telescope and then you end up putting in $4,000 into cameras and mounts and everything else. So, but it's still. I think Arthur was very positive about going for grants, and there is grant money out there. And if it's public outreach, it could be our remote machine. I mean, I don't know if folks are watching some of what McDonald is doing, but McDonald Observatory on YouTube for public outreach, they're only using a 16-inch scope. And as an Orion member, I got the private meeting that we had a few weeks back, and they ran the 82-inch and on remote, and to be perfectly honest, it didn't work out very well because it didn't match the camera to the scope, and all you saw were burned out images. But I mean, a 19-inch scope is not a trivial piece of equipment. Coupled with the right cameras and a remote mount, you can do an awful lot and do an awful lot of public outreach and do it all remotely without anybody setting foot out there, driving out there.
Hey, Ed, would there be any chance of possibly getting them to do maybe 2 acres so that if we had some club members that wanted to put up like a remote observatory or something out there, that we could have the room to do so?
That would all be subject to negotiations.
Right.
I mean, depending on how much they wanted per acre and what kind of conditions, whether they'd be willing to sell. Like I was saying, I got thinking about it, and I might want to counter offer. He said no to sale right off, but if it would, the sale as an upfront lease, as opposed, and we use it as long as we choose. And if we want to sell it, we can only sell it back to the Swenson family, so they never get their ranch chopped up. We get our money back, they get their land back, everyone walks away happy. There's some potential there. I initially talked about a 20-year lease because, speaking for myself, I'm not sure I'm going to be worried about it 20 years from now, but the club is a long-term club and looking at a long-term investment. That's where that stands.
Yeah, just for perspective, an acre is about the same size as a football field.
Yeah. Well, if you consider if it's a fully usable acre, part of the problem with buying 5 and 10 acres is you got to bring utilities in, you got to get access in. Some of it may not be usable. It might be in a creek. It might be in a wooded area. You don't want to cut, you want to cut down the trees, or you don't want to cut down the trees, or, if this area is already cleared and set up to be an observatory, you can think about the observatories that sit on mountaintops. If it's a clear 360-degree area, it doesn't take much land to put up a building, a small building, and put your scopes in it and then, we can have pads or piers available to club members and that type of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of things we could do. But getting the utilities in, getting Wi-Fi, getting internet to the site, getting access roads, those are all not cheap. I did buildings as a profession for 40 years, and I can tell you that none of that stuff is cheap. It'll burn through your budget before long, and the next thing you know, you can put up a tin shack, and that's about it. I see it's 1.32 acres. Okay, it's about a half a hectare.
Any other questions? All right. For those of you who are interested, it looks like we will be discussing it at our January board meeting. That'll be the second Tuesday in January. So it will be fun. We're moving down that road. George, are you on? I thought I heard your voice. Do you want to talk about Prime Focus?
Not really much to talk about. If people are interested in submitting articles or pictures or anything of the sort, just let me know.
Okay. Do any of the board members have anything they would like to bring up for discussion?
Yeah, a couple things. I got approached by a guy through the website the other day. He's interested in selling some mirrors for a Dob that he has. He's going to send me some pictures and I'll put it on e-group. I know a lot of people are still interested in buying or building telescopes.
Okay.
And then I'm going to be heading out, and I'll put this on e-group as well, out to the meteor shower, the quadrantids or drontids on January 2nd. So I'll put it on e-group if anybody wants to go out. So the weather's fine. I'll be out there. So. And then John, if you want to stay afterwards, we'll discuss a couple things.
Sure.
All right.
Any of the other board members have something?
Well, I have a question. How do I access the e-group? I'm new here.
John, are you the
You
expert?
you have a new members handbook?
Yes.
Yes. And so in the new members, I know you have to actually read it. That's why we sent it.
Right.
Dadgummit!
Oh man. Yeah.
But there is a location in there. If you go, I think it's page 2, where the there's a table that contains links to various portions, and one of those links is to the e-group.
All right,
It's
great.
pretty simple. You go in there and just follow that, and you can be up in 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Another quick question about the dark sites that we have. Where can I find? Is that another one of the links where I can find the locations of all of our sites?
Again, those are referenced in the handbook.
Great.
But I don't know if I put it in there recently. There is a directory under, in the e-group, there's a directory listing called Files. And under Files, there's a directory called Dark Sky Sites. And it lists out each of the dark sites that we have. And under that is where the actual locations of the sites are, what the gate locks codes are, and so forth.
Okay, thank you. And those are accessible at any time?
Just about any time, yes.
Okay.
Now, for the new members, just a word of warning. When you get in there and you see the gate codes, we prefer that those, like if somebody on the e-group shouts out, does anybody know the code to such and such, to the Star Ranch code? We prefer you not actually put the code on the e-group. If you know the code and you can help the person, have them call you or text you for that information so that it's not out there on an email, because those emails can be taken by somebody and forwarded outside the group. And then all that information leaves the club, and we need to keep those sites secure in those areas. So just remember that. Not everybody thinks of that. So, Any other questions? All right, we'll leave it open so people can go ahead and have conversations if they want to. And then I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Michelle, would you send Sean the dates for Tandy Hills, so he can put them on the website?
I have not. I know that Pam put that list out in November.
I have something I can say about that. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Someone asked me to send those dates to Sean. I don't remember who it was. I did send him a copy of my list of the dates, and he emailed me back and said that he got the list.
Okay.
And that was after our last meeting in November. So I haven't checked on the website.
I did.
Are they not there?
Correct.
Oh.
Sean, no big deal. No big deal. I'll send him a note and ask him if he would.
Good idea. Okay.
Before we log off, Michelle, I had a question from someone about where to find that tripod that I did in the video. I sent in the chat, I sent a link to everybody if they want to take a look at it. It's out on Amazon. It's
Oh, I see it.
$22. A lot cheaper than your typical tripod that you buy for your telescopes.
Well, even the price for a telephoto lens, for example, if you've got a 10-pound camera, even the price of those tripods are in the several hundred to 300 range. And they're expensive.
Yes.
This seems to be a whole lot less than that, other than the connection piece, of course.
Yeah, well, it has to do with it. They produce a lot of them for surveyors. They only produce a few tripods for astronomers. They produce hundreds of them for surveyors. So it just makes the cost per each cheaper, and they have to be rugged. I mean, that was why I put it up there.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody.